Welcome students. We were discussing monetary policy under the flexible exchange rate system and partial capital mobility. Let us discuss now the fiscal policy under flexible exchange rates. Okay. Fiscal policy under flexible exchange rates and partial mobility of capital. Now, to discuss this, let us make the four-panel diagram in paintbrush. Let us draw the four-panel diagram like we were drawing earlier. Uh, Let us have that four-panel diagram. So we have four panels for explaining the impact of fiscal policy in a flexible exchange rate system. Let us draw these diagrams. Now, what I will be doing, I will be drawing only first of all these 45-degree lines. Rest all curve will be driving at the end. Let us have a 45-degree line. Okay, and since we want to see the impact of fiscal policy, sorry, let us derive LM and BP curves first, and IS curve will be drawn accordingly. We have a rate of interest and level of income, obviously. Want to extend some more this axis. Okay, that's good. Now I have rate of interest and level of income. The same curve, same axis, level of income, level of income. We have level of income here also, and exchange rate here. Exchange rate on this side, okay, and interest rate on this side. We have, this is LM curve for M node money supply, and this is BP curve with exchange rate E naught. Okay, BP curve with exchange rate E naught. Here I will be drawing this IS curve also to show you people that there is initial general equilibrium at point say P. Point P is the initial equilibrium. Point P is the initial equilibrium. Initial equilibrium level of income, and this initial equilibrium level of income is Y naught with interest rate R naught, right? And this is the what you say initial level of income, and because this is the exchange rate E naught, the initial exchange rate. Okay, we can mark these points as Y naught, uh, Y naught, Y naught, E naught, and R naught. This is E naught. In case anybody is having some problem, you people can ask is how these points have been drawn. Obviously, these points have been drawn where IS, LM, and BP curves are intersecting each other. Now, this IS is drawn with exchange rate E naught, and obviously, what you say, the government expenditure, say G naught. Okay. G naught is the exchange rate, G naught is the government expenditure. Right? If you have any question, you people can discuss, please. Now, suppose a fiscal policy or fiscal expansion exists that shifts the IS curve to the right, and there is temporary equilibrium at some point. Say, let us suppose IS curve shifts to right. Suppose temporary equilibrium takes place at point M, and this is IS curve with exchange rate E naught, and G naught is G1 is the government expenditure. Okay, this is IS curve with E naught exchange rate and G1 expenditure, government expenditure. The temporary equilibrium takes place at point M. Now, can you see that point M is to the left of what do you say BP curve? Hmm? क्यों बच्चों? Point M is to the left of BP curve. Should I write these points here? Or at the end I should write? Tell me. Okay, at the end I will write all the points. So as IS curve shifts to IS E naught G1 because of fiscal expansion from G naught to G1, temporary equilibrium is at point M where IS curve intersect LM curve. However, this point M is to the left of BP curve where BP surplus exists. Due to surplus in balance of payment, what will happen? Exchange rate will get appreciated. Exchange rate will get appreciated. The surplus and balance of payment will cause appreciation in exchange rate. So exchange rate will fall. When exchange rate will fall, what will happen? It will cause a backward shift in BP curve as well as downward shift in IS curve, right? So probably what will happen? A BP curve will be shifted to this point. Okay, and IS means BP curve will be shifted to backward or to the left, and IS curve will shift to downward because of this change in exchange rate. Okay, IS curve, new IS will be this. So this is my BP with exchange rate E1, and this is new IS curve with IS E1 exchange rate and G1 public expenditure. So my final equilibrium exists at the point N, at point N. Okay. Now I will be deriving other points at this point. Obviously, at point N, your income is higher than Y naught. So this will be here. R1 will be the interest rate. Y1. Okay. And obviously, E1 is now the exchange rate, which is obviously lower because currency has been appreciated due to balance of payment surplus. Let it be E1. Yes, this E1 will also go here. So E1, E1 exchange rate, Y1 is the level of income that is higher, obviously, higher than Y naught. Okay. So I will be drawing FF curves, one with respect to this E naught. Okay, when level of income is this Y naught. Other I will be driving FF curve on this point, but upper curve will be drawn because here level of income is more. So FF with Y naught. This is FF with Y1 level of income. Okay. Since interest rate is now higher, new interest rate is higher, some surplus is generated in capital account. If I draw the what do you say net exports curve will be moving from this point. Okay, this is my nx is equal to 0. This is point q. Okay, and So this is the complete diagram. Let us now interpret this diagram. What is happening step by step? Let us discuss. Okay. Number one, initial equilibrium at point P, where IS is equal to LM is equal to BP. Right. Number two, as government expenditure rises from G naught to G1, as government expenditure rises from G naught to G1, what happens? The IS curve shifts to IS E naught G1. As G rises from G naught to G1, the IS curve shifts to IS E naught G1 from IS E naught G naught. Okay, so earlier was IS E naught G naught. Now new curve is IS G naught E naught G1. Okay. Number three, a temporary equilibrium is noticed at point M, where IS is equal to LM. However, the point M is to the left of BP curve and hence shows balance of payment surplus. Okay, due to BP surplus, due to BP surplus, the exchange rate falls as currency appreciates, and so BP curve shifts from BP E naught, that is with exchange rate E naught, to BP E1. Okay, the change in exchange rate will also shift the IS curve from IS E node G1 to IS E1 G1. That is downward, right? That is downward. The permanent equilibrium is, however, achieved at point N, where following major outcomes are noticed. Noticed. Number one, following major outcomes are noted. Number one, an appreciation or an increase in income an increase in income. Second major observation is an appreciation in exchange rate or an appreciation in currency, okay, or an appreciation in exchange rate. Number three, an increase in interest rate. Okay, obviously an increase in interest rate is there, so some crowding out will take place because of this increase in interest rate. Okay. Number four, number four, a deterioration in current account as NX as NX equilibrium shifted from point Q to point R. R is to the left of NX curve, and so NX is less in deficit. Okay. So, Bachit, this is in nutshell the outcome of what you say, the operation of fiscal policy in fixed rate in sorry, what do we say, in a flexible exchange rate system and partial mobility of capital. Let us compare what you say, the two outcomes. I'm saving this diagram. Let us now compare the two outcomes. Yesterday we had discussed the 4 points of exercising monetary policy, fiscal policy in fiscal policy outcomes. Yesterday we had discussed the exercise of monetary policy. Means what are the outcomes of exercising monetary policy in flexible exchange rate economy with partial mobility of capital. Today I have written some what you say fiscal policy outcomes. Yesterday we had discussed monetary policy outcomes. Let us compare these outcomes and conclude which policy is better in such type of system. Okay. If we compare, then if we compare the first point, even under monetary policy, even when we had exercised the monetary policy, uh, yeah, income was increasing. So an increase in income that is still there. Here also I should write an increase in income. Right. Number two, an appreciation in exchange rate under fiscal policy. When we had exercised monetary policy, there was a depreciation in exchange rates. Okay. Third point, impact on interest rate was a decline in interest rate. The decline in interest rate means it will positively affect the private investment. Okay. The decline in interest rate is always expansionary. Four, an improvement in current account balance or a surplus in or probably a surplus in current account. So tell me which policy is better for a system where we have this is basically comparison of monetary and fiscal policies under flexible exchange rate and partial mobility of capital. With this comparison we have done. Now you people will answer which policy is better in such type of system. System is flexible exchange rate and partial mobility of capital. And let me tell you, most of the economies these days are following this type of system. Even India is following this type of system. We are following flexible exchange rate, and obviously partial mobility of capital is allowed. Not the full convertibility of capital is allowed. So this is the case of India, where we have diagrammatically represented what would be the effect of monetary policy, what would be the impact of fiscal policy. Tell me which policy is now the best one, is the better
Monetary policy.
monetary policy, right? Why monetary policy? Because in both cases income is increasing, so monetary policy may income increase or ये fiscal may be increase or ये. In fiscal policy we have appreciation in exchange rate, while in monetary policy we have depreciation in exchange rate. Depreciation obviously will be export promoting also, and though obviously if exchange rate is depreciating and what do you say that if exchange rate is increasing, means what, you have to pay more for import, demand is going to fall, so imports will be restricted and exports may be encouraged if exchange rate will fall. So ultimately a depreciation in exchange rate is better than an appreciation in exchange rate. So here some issues. Ultimately, many times some divergence of views are there whether appreciation is better or depreciation. In nutshell, it is observed that it is depreciation which is better for economy. In fiscal policy, increase in interest rate is observed that may crowd out huge private investment because higher interest rates are not preferred for investment. On the other hand, when we exercise monetary policy, increase in money supply causes interest rates to fall. So lesser interest rates are always expansionary. If we see the wage price flexibility issue when we had argued about the Pittenkin effect and introduction of classical effect into Keynesian economics, we observed that whenever money supply rises, interest rate will fall, and when interest rate will fall, it will enhance investment, and probably the investment multiplier will cause income and employment to increase. So, and a reduced interest rate is always preferred. If we compare current account, a deficit is observed when fiscal policy is observed, or fiscal policy is exercised. But there is an improvement in current account balance when the monetary policy is exercised, under flexible exchange rate and partial mobility of capital. So, in nutshell, it may be concluded that monetary policy is exercise of monetary policy is better than the exercise of fiscal policy under a flexible exchange rate regime where partial mobility of capital is available. Thank you so much. That was about comparison of two policies. Tomorrow we'll be talking about fixed exchange rate system, how these two policies works in a fixed exchange rate system. Then your first unit will be finished. Thank you so much. Now I will be taking your attendance.